ANA study that came out last week that has found the governance gap widens around principal media. From the article, written by our very own Matthew Schwartz.
Hey, we love it.
There is a widening governance gap in principal media as its use expands across the advertising industry, a new survey reveals. According to the ANAs, the continued acceleration of principal media and the importance of proper governance, just 57% of marketers say their companies have guidelines governing principal media. The lack of governance comes as 90% of respondents say their top concern is whether recommended principal media is truly in their best interest, up from 79% in 2024. The study, which was released on March 19th, is based on responses from 114 business professionals with knowledge of their company's media investment strategies. According to that study, 58% say their companies used principal media in the past year, up from 47% in the 2024 study, while 56% expect to use principal media in the coming year, compared with 41% in the earlier study. What's more, 37% of respondents say their company's use of principal media grew in the past year, up from 24% previously. Now, for listeners who are not aware, Mike, I do want to say principal media is the practice where an agency buys media from a publisher in bulk and then sells it back to the brands that they're doing business with as part of their media buys. So sort of like already owned media stock that an agency has is then selling back to the clients. I will tell you, I find it interesting that this study has found that concern about whether principal media is in the company's best interest is up from 79% in 2024 to 90% in this most recent survey. And yet, so is usage. Those two ideas don't seem to jibe, do they?
And thank you very much for kind of that baseline definition. Want to make sure everybody's on the same page while we get into this. In my mind, this is kind of putting a hat on an issue we've been discussing for, a decade, where I get the idea that like, if I'm starting a food truck or something, like Costco's going to give me savings where the supermarket isn't.
Yes.
But I don't know exactly what the margin is there. So maybe Costco's still running me for something. But like, trust. Trust is always what comes to the fore on this. And I know that the ANA has some recommendations for how we can move that forward, but I just feel like it's a bigger problem than can brands trust agencies. I think it's actually the call might be coming from inside the house.
That's interesting. So to your points, the article quotes our fearless leader, Bob Liodice, CEO of the ANA. And Bob says, principal media is becoming a more common part of the media ecosystem, but marketers need to ensure they have the right safeguards in place. For our members, that starts with making sure agency contracts explicitly address principal media and establishing clear internal approval processes. Marketers should always understand whether their agency is acting as an agent or a principal in any media transaction. You had said you feel like we're having this conversation for 10 years. We're talking about this article in our editorial meeting this morning before, as we're developing this segment. And one of the things that we talked about with this quote is the fact that if you change some of these terms, it feels like it could be lifted directly from the landmark media transparency study that the ANA released in 2016 that sort of initially blew the lid off of the opacity that exists within the digital media ecosystem. So it seems like the recommendations are sort of similar, which says to me that marketers still haven't gotten the memo. Like the brands are still not doing their due diligence. This whole article is about a lack of governance. They're not doing their due part there. To your point about, like going to Costco versus, Cisco or whatever, if you're starting a food truck, I was thinking about this and I was wondering about the financial pressure that marketers have been under over the last 5 years. I mean, really for longer than that, but let's just say the last 5 years, tightening budgets, the need to still deliver growth year over year, if not quarter over quarter. If you are a CMO or a marketer and you're being told you need to slash your budget down, but you need to give me more, why wouldn't you look to media, buying media impressions that come at a discount because they were bought in bulk by the agency, which is sort of the idea. Is like the agency buys this media from the publisher and then they pass the savings right on to you, the brand.
Right.
assuming that is, what the agencies are doing, and I have no reason to assume that they're not doing that, and assuming that marketers are under this pressure, this constant fiscal responsibility, having to do less with more and all that, is there a culture now that is facilitating the acceleration of buying media in this way? And if you're a brand who's concerned about governance, like aren't you sort of putting your own company in this position by continuing to slash the marketing budget and make the goal about savings rather than truly buying the thing that's actually going to deliver the most value in terms of brand growth?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, great.
All
Great
right.
segment.
No, but I mean, like you get what you incentivize.
Yes.
And if it's just do more with less every year, you're incentivizing spend less on media, make savings, P&L, make the L go down so we don't have to worry as much about the P. If that's what the rest of the C-suite is turning towards marketers and media professionals and asking them to do year after year after year without taking a step back, zooming out a little bit and being like, is this system working for anybody anymore?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm sorry. But if that's like, if the only thing you care about is that everybody's wearing like khaki pants to work, and like that's all you're obsessed with, you're going to get a bunch of khaki pant wearing people who don't have much motivation to do much else. Like, we're writing out the test and then flunking it. And, like, let's take a step back and stop the insanity to make an insanely, what is it, a 30-year-old reference to an infomercial. This is the kind of quality that we here guarantee at OnScope, the marketing podcast. But like, let's have a conversation about smaller, exponentially more impactful media buys then.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation about where we can go to more boutique experiences, to reevaluating what we're doing. Like if you want the L in your P&L to go down, and this is how marketers do it, this is how they're going to act.
Yeah.
Because you're not saying, well, optimize our media and we'll see it in 3 years. No, 90 days, 90 days, 90 days. Like, this is the system. We're the people who make it and uphold it. We could be having much better conversations. That's how I feel about this.